Hi everybody, welcome to Conscious Conversations. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. So I'm the founder of the Transformation Center based in Westport, Connecticut. And at the center we do a variety of workshops, classes. We have sound baths in the backyard during the summer months. And that's in addition to the individual healing and coaching sessions that I do. So we're going to put up the slide with our contact information and would love to hear from you. You can call, email, text, whatever. And we especially welcome beginners on the path because, we're all in this together. And the purpose of the center is really to help you find out who you truly are and let go of who you're not, all your limiting beliefs that may be holding you back. So I welcome any inquiries. And thank you for being here today. And I am very excited that my guest today is Dr. Adena Blickstein. Hey.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, I'm so glad you're able to come down. So I'm going to just read a little bit about you before we get started for our audience because they haven't met you yet. So Dr. Blickstein is a holistic child psychiatrist specializing in integrated energy therapy. She is the CEO and founder of Teal Dragon Healing. I love that name. I want to ask you later how you got that, okay? So we're going to put up her slide so you can find out how to contact her. And it's based in Stamford, Connecticut, so not too far away. And with a fellowship from Westchester Medical Center and a master's in public health from Columbia University, Dr. Blickstein focuses on repairing, enhancing, and creating sustainable, flourishing, and mutually beneficial parent-child relationships. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, what a wonderful practice to have and to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm welcome again.
Thank you.
And I'm curious about how did you get started in this? Like what drew you to this field?
Yeah. So I started out in medical school. I did an internship in internal medicine, and then I ended up specializing in child psychiatry.
How did that?
Well, I loved medicine, I loved kids, and I figured child psychiatry had a good mix of the two.
Okay.
And I was debating between pediatrics and family medicine. Okay. So I do actually now work a lot with complex medical and psychiatric issues. So I have a robust kind of background in all things related to families.
Okay.
So when I graduated, I had been working in the inpatient psychiatric wards during COVID, and it was a massive crisis, right? Yeah. All over the world, but a lot of people really didn't understand what was going on with the kids and mental health.
Oh, wow. That's true.
We're seeing what's happening now, but among everything that was going on during COVID, there was a massive increase in suicide attempts completed, and then completed suicides and suicide attempts.
Okay.
And so I was rotating in those intensive care units of children who had attempted.
Like how young are we talking when you say children? Are they teenagers or?
I mean, we had, our youngest in the unit was about 5, and then we had in the ICU intensive care units post attempts from 11 to 18 year old kids.
Yeah.
There was the stress was just so intense, especially for them not being in school.
Right.
And then having to be in Zoom school and the fear and about being afraid of going out. I mean,
yeah, that was a lot.
It was a lot. And it wasn't necessarily made public, but the inpatient units were just packed with children. The intensive care units were packed with kids. We had to actually manage the psychiatric children in the medical units because we had no room.
Oh my goodness.
So
was this in New York City or in?
This was in Westchester where I did my training.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Westchester, okay.
And so I would rotate. I was on the consulting team, and I saw child after child who had attempted suicide, and obviously the parents were in terrible distress, and I would counsel them. And after months of this, I got very sick. I had 2 young children at that time. I was in the midst of a divorce as well. And the stress was just so much for me to bear that by the end of my training, I said, I'm never doing this again. No,
You're
not
done.
for me.
Uh-huh.
I'm done. And I kind of had to take a step back and heal myself.
Sure. Yeah.
And try to understand how we came to this point and what exactly child psychiatry is, and how could it be reimagined.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so conscious at that point. I was just trying to heal myself.
Okay.
But I knew that if this environment was meant to heal, then it wouldn't make people sick.
Yeah. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah, there was something discrepant between the work I was doing and how I was feeling, and it just didn't seem in alignment with, if we're trying to help kids and help them be mentally well, why was their energy it just seemed kind of not off. Yeah. So I went through my own healing journey. I did dietary changes. I saw holistic practitioners, and slowly I got better in terms of learning what I needed and what I wanted to contribute to the field.
Okay.
And within a year, I started seeing patients on my own, which is unusual because most graduates in child psychiatry usually go into hospitals or go into different private practice.
Sure.
But I decided that I was just going to see patients on my own and open my doors in my own private practice.
Yeah.
Which is a big step for just someone newly graduating.
Well, totally. But you just knew that you wanted to do it differently.
Yeah.
So how better to do it than do it on your own?
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that, actually.
Yeah. And so I started seeing patients with a very traditionally trained mindset. And the mindset was, the child is the designated patient, and the child needs treatment. And that treatment could be therapy or meds. And that was the way I was trained.
Okay.
And so I started seeing kids and using that approach where the child was the designated patient and the child needed meds or therapy. But then I started seeing that there was a lot more involved. And so I shifted a little bit and I started running parenting training programs. And I called it parenting resilience training, or child-centered parent training.
Yeah.
So it was based on parenting effectiveness training that was created by Thomas Gordon.
Okay.
And he wrote a book called PET. It's been around for over 40 years, I believe. And I would have them order the book from Amazon, and then I would start training the parents. I would use his approach, but then I would also incorporate elements of child psychiatry and different things I learned in my training, and then other healing ideas that I picked up in my own healing practice. And then we had a bunch of parents where we had some data gathering of the parents, and we took results pre and post the 12 weeks of training.
Okay.
And we measured the rates of depression and anxiety in the children and the level of confidence and frustration of the parents. And after 12 weeks, there were plummeting rates of anxiety, depression across all age groups and across all diagnoses.
It's amazing.
And I said to myself, there's obviously a relationship between child reactivity, or what we call mental illness, and the relationship they have with their parents.
Well, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Right.
Seems sort of obvious.
Seems
right?
obvious, right?
Yeah.
So I started seeing this correlation.
Yeah.
The poorer the relationship, the worse the mental health.
Okay. Yeah. So you saw evidence. You proved your
Right.
theory, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I said, well, if that's the answer to eradicating and mediating and preventing mental health illnesses among children, we have to find a measure of relational health. We have to be able to understand how healthy a relationship is
Yeah, that makes sense.
with certain criteria.
Yeah.
Because if we could up the health of the relationship, we just will naturally see a decrease in mental illness.
Great.
So we developed something called attunement ratings
Okay.
and attunement trainings. And we basically measure the attunement score of the parents, which is the measure of relational health. And then we see drops in mental illness. And so that's what we do now.
That's awesome. So you just developed a questionnaire for the parents to measure this?
It's a rating scale. I can go into details if you'd like.
Well, we'll see if we have time.
And we'll see if we have time.
I'm curious about how it works. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a very, very specific measure of qualities in which children need from parents.
Okay.
Just to explain it generally, children need to know their parents are askable.
Oh.
Children need to be able to ask their parents questions without feeling judged or criticized.
Yeah.
So one of our scores is the level of askability.
Oh, okay.
And we have different measures based on the child's need.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we create the attunement score.
Yeah. Wow. So that, I mean, it seems simple, but I'm sure it took some, a lot of thought and a lot of work to get there. Over what period of time?
So I started the practice in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started just fine-tuning the trainings. And now we actually train providers who deal with children. So we train pediatricians, psychologists, child psychiatrists, and we have done trainings all over the country too on TRAT, the TRAT protocol, trauma-informed relational attunement training. And we've seen incredible results among the practitioners that take our trainings in their children and in their parents.
Yeah, right, because that's one way to spread it is do the training and let all the practitioners have this available to them.
So the training is targeted to providers that deal with parents and children. Because most providers that deal with children have no training on how to deal with the parents of those children.
Good point.
Because all the child-centric industries believe that a child is the designated patient.
Yeah, like in a vacuum somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the child gastroenterologist, child neurologist, right? Every medical specialty of child doesn't include training on the parents of the child, but most of the issues that happen are resulting from
the parenting,
a relational problem.
Relational problem.
So we teach relational attunement and how to understand all medical and psychiatric presentations from a relational perspective.
It's brilliant. I mean, like I said, it sounds like a no-brainer, but the medical field is sometimes slow to catch up to how things actually are, I find.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The child is never a designated patient.
Yeah, it's the whole organism, the whole family. As an organism.
Exactly. And my whole approach is that I don't treat the child, I treat the family. The entire family is my designated patient, no matter who picks up the phone.
Right, right. So when you I love this, Adena. This is amazing, very exciting. So when you train the practitioners, you said do they have to deal with children and parents? They can't be one or the other.
Well, most people who seek my help are treating children, but interacting with parents. Because anytime you treat a child, you have to interact. But they get very overwhelmed with the parenting interactions.
Because they haven't had the training.
Right.
So does this training suffice for them to be able to do the work with the parents?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
They start changing their practice.
Okay.
And start to realize, oh my goodness, the child is nonverbal or the child is having stomach aches because the mom is not emotionally attuned. So then they start reworking the whole family because they have different eyes.
Yeah, so everything is shifted. Their perspective shifts.
And their practice.
Shifts.
I'll give you an example of one of our providers that took our training, and she had a child who would not engage. Whatever question she asked, the child would just shut down. And after the training, and she uses this example, I taught her a skill called I wonder, the curiosity skill, as opposed to the interrogative skill. What did you do? Why do you feel good? That's very interrogating for children. Nobody likes to be interrogated. So instead of that approach, she just started being like, I wonder if you, whatever. And it's a curious approach, and the child started flourishing. And then she taught the parents of the child how to speak to her like that, and the child again flourished, because curiosity is a choice. It's more of an open, exploratory, playful language, and parents, without realizing, they can be very pressurizing or
it feels harsh.
Yeah, like, how was school? Did you like it? What did you do?
Exactly. It's like, even though that's not their intention, the child or even adults talking to each other. I think this is great training for everybody,
Right.
in a relationship. Because if you're asking a question and it comes out the way you just did it, you think they're mad at me, they don't like me, they don't love me.
Right. It sounds
judgmental.
judgmental.
What's wrong with me? It sounds judgmental.
And parents are always well-intended. I've never met a parent that's not well-intended, but very poorly trained. So we have a lot of very poorly trained parents around this planet creating trauma in their children unconsciously. And the easy fix is training and learning. So I teach parents and providers. I do both. And every single parent who has come out of this training has felt more confident, felt less frustrated, and felt more grounded. If there's any issue in this world that we really need to support, it's grounded and empowered parenting. Because most parents that act authoritarian and controlling or permissive are really just flailing.
They are, and
they don't know what to do.
They don't know why either. And it usually comes from a place within inside of them. They may have been treated that way. It comes down from our ancestors. And
exactly.
And
I was that parent, 100%. My kids, they have a term for that parenting. I don't know if I could say it, but they called me a not so nice name. And now I've transformed. I have really transformed into a mother who has a much healthier relationship with her kids.
That's awesome.
So this is my own personal journey, and I just want to gift that to anybody and everybody that is open to learning.
Wow, that's wonderful. And often that's how it starts with us as healers, practitioners. We heal ourselves and help ourselves, and then we want to help everybody. Well, that's wonderful, Adena.
Thank you.
So excited. So, wow, I know I have a lot of questions, but the other thing I want to come back to, I'm curious about the Teal Dragon. It didn't have to do anything with Dragon Mom or anything like that, did it?
No. So Teal Dragon was, initially when I was thinking of a name for this organization, I wrote down like 500 names on like a couple pieces of paper, and I just started asking people, like, pick a name, just whoever I saw, like, what do you think? What do you like? And I remember driving to work, and it just, boom, it just came to me. And the reason was because I, as an integrated energy therapist, so I use energy healing along with child adolescent psychiatry. So it's a nice mix.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I feel that parents really struggle is because they feel like they're in a relationship in which they have to cut themselves off as humans from that interaction. Like they don't exist. Like they're subservient to their children. And that's a throat chakra block. And it's very important for parents to express themselves in how they feel, in how their child's impacting them. If they feel angry at their kid, if they feel resentful, it's an important thing to say. And in our training, we talk about how to say that.
Yeah, maybe not to the child, but to someone.
No, absolutely to the child.
The child
because
as well.
If a child is doing something that impacts the parent, it's very important that the parent says how the child impacts them, because then the child understands the impact of their behaviors.
Okay, I see. You're not making them wrong, you're just sharing how you're feeling.
It's not about wrong or right. There's no wrong or right in relationship. It's all subjective.
Right.
But when we have kids who don't understand the impact of their behaviors on people around them,
that's a problem.
Then we have kids who are narcissistic in the sense that they think they can do anything and everything, and it won't be impactful in a negative way. Okay. That's coming from parenting that is blocked in the throat.
Yeah.
So the heart is green, and the throat is blue, and in between that is teal. I call it the teal line because it's a merge of the blue and the green colors, but the symbolism is that we need to share what's in our heart.
I love this. It's just like really, really, I feel it actually.
Right? And this area is one of the most blocked areas we have in the human race right now. Our heart-voice connection, it needs help. And all the phones and all the things that are closing this heart-voice connection is making it harder and worse, because physically we're like more inclined not to be sharing. The way we share what's in our heart is very important. But if it's from the heart, it's from the heart. It's not from the head. It's not coming from unconscious patterning of control. It's coming from a place of integrity and self-advocacy. So it's super important that parents advocate for themselves and for their mental health with their children. So for example, I just had a client who daughter missed the bus, teenage daughter missed the bus, and she resentfully and angrily drove her to school. I said, do you know what came in exchange for your driving? Your resentment. And children never want that. But if you communicate with your heart at a time that's calm and say, it's hard for me to drive you because then I won't have time and space or be on time for my meeting. Let's work on a solution that works for both of us. That's health.
Yes, yes.
And then parents start feeling like they're respected and appreciated, and that's what they deserve to feel.
Absolutely. So it's like a win-win.
Win-win. There's always collaborative win-wins in the work I teach. And just to talk about win-wins, one of the things we do is partner with collaborative divorce lawyers in high conflict mediation. High conflict divorce mediation sounds like an oxymoron because most people in high conflict don't mediate. They litigate. But we partner on the financial end with collaborative divorce lawyers where they offer the finance piece. We offer the psychiatric and psychological piece. So we are bringing a movement forward where people can stay out of the legal system and really heal their families.
Wow, that is so helpful.
Yeah.
So important. Wow. I mean, it's like an endless
Yeah.
opportunity to help people at all in all facets of their lives when you think about it.
Right.
You know, I can see this for teachers.
Right. Exactly. Attunement training.
Yeah.
We are building scalable, tools in which that can have multiple use cases across all industries. Human resources.
Yes.
Wouldn't you want customer service to have high attunement scores?
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I love this possibilities.
Yeah.
Are just, oh man. Oh wow. Okay. So I'm really glad we had this conversation because it's just like you got to get the word out there.
Yeah, we really got to get the word out there. And I think one of the biggest barriers to the work is that it's so progressive and new. It's very simple, but people don't understand it. And in their mindset, people call me, are you a family therapist? Are you a child psychologist? Are you a child psychiatrist? Who are you? And what box do you fit in? And right now, we really need people that have more of an open mind to partner with us and to bring this work forward because it is a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And we're shifting the paradigm out of conflict, out of the dogmatic positions in the legal system, out of, educational systems, parenting system, or whatever system that was. We're really shifting a paradigm. So the people who are familiar with the fragmented child as the designated patient, it's hard for them to access the work because they don't really get it. It's hard for them to wrap their head around.
Well, no, yeah, and change takes time. But what about starting with the medical schools? That's
a great idea.
I mean, they're the ones that give people the idea that it's only the child that you have to treat.
100%. Where did the medical schools get that idea? Well, that's a whole rabbit hole because that comes down to insurance too.
Oh, good point.
And billing for a patient, and diagnosing a patient and prescribing for a patient and getting coverage and funding for a patient.
Like who is the patient? You have to, that's where they start with.
Right, exactly. So building a holistic framework really requires institutions to accept and buy into the holistic approach so it can be easily supported and funded for people. Because we are starting to take some insurances now, but up until now it was all private pay. And we do want to make it more accessible. But if we want to make it more accessible, we need insurance companies that are going to appreciate it.
They have to get on board.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, good. Well, this is exciting, and I know you're going to succeed. I just know that because you already have,
Yeah,
and you're going to continue to. So I would love to support you in any way I can. So we'll get the word out there.
Thank you.
And just keep on, doing what you do.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's very exciting, and our ultimate mission is to reunify and heal families worldwide, and to eradicate mental illness in children, especially.
Yeah, because exactly. I totally think that's possible.
Yes, 100%.
Because it starts with the families, and that's it. Yeah, if you can just prevent it. I'm all about preventative medicine myself.
Right. So when you teach parents how to attune from a very early age of the child, you change their brain completely, their patterning, their synapses. They actually become children who believe in a beautiful, supportive world, and that is the truth. Yes. All the healing that we have to do is reconditioning ourselves from poor parenting.
That is so true. That is so true.
But if we actually had parents that healed and learned and were trained, they could impart the truth, which is we are unlimited.
Yes.
We have support every single place we go and at every single moment in time. And that is what children knew as truth. Yeah. We will have a different world.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, thank you. We're going to end there because that's just the perfect ending.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And thank you to our audience for being here. I know you got a lot out of this conversation today, and keep it going. Learn and talk to your practitioners and your friends and yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And thank you to the Westport Library for hosting us, Verso Studios. Appreciate it. Namaste.